If you're new here, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered therapist, researcher, and online course creator. And I have a special treat for you today. I'm being joined by my friend and fellow YouTuber, LikeKristen. And Kristen is a powerhouse peer mental health YouTuber. She talks all about mental health advocacy, awareness, and recovery. And I asked Kristen to come and be on my show today because Kristen is brave and bold and real and authentic and has talked openly about her struggle, her up and down, back and forth struggle with depression over the years. And so I wanted Kristen to come on here and share from her perspective what it's like to be someone who struggles with depression, who goes through bouts of depression, to talk from her perspective about what's going on, what she's feeling, what she's experiencing, and then also to talk about what she doesn't find helpful when she's struggling, what people do or don't do that's not super helpful, and then also talking about what she does find helpful. For those of us who have a loved one who struggles with depression, I think that we can never get enough information or suggestions on what we can do, because a lot of the time we feel really helpless. Now, I'm not saying that what Kristen finds helpful is going to be the same thing that everybody finds helpful, but I hope that you will find some useful suggestions, some things you can at least try. And if it doesn't work, or if it doesn't fly with the person that you use it with, then that's absolutely fine. But taking what she says and to help us kind of understand it a little bit better. And if there are some tips and if there are some things that she talks about that do connect with you, or that you think that you would like to start using or trying, then absolutely give them a shot. I think that having information and a deeper understanding is always something that more of us could use more of. So without further ado, join me in welcoming LikeKristen, and make sure that before you leave today that you subscribe to her channel, because she has so much to offer, is helping so many people, and is such an asset to our world. Here she is, LikeKristen.
Hi, my name is Kristen, and Julia kindly invited me onto her channel to answer some questions for you. If you've never heard of me or never seen my lovely face before, my name is Kristen, and I have another mental health channel here on YouTube called LikeKristen, where I talk about mental health advocacy, recovery, and awareness. It's a great time. So yeah, if you enjoy my face, maybe my channel will be down below for you to subscribe to. Julia asked me to talk about my journey with depression, how I felt about it, and how my loved ones or support system in my life kind of contributed to my recovery. And I really hope you guys enjoy my story, because it's not unique. A lot of people have gone through what I've gone through, but I'm just brave enough to talk about it. There's so much stigma out there and so much shame and guilt surrounded by the depression label that a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
So Kristen, I just wanted to ask you, when did your struggle with depression start? And do you remember, was there anything that triggered it, or did it just seem to almost come out of nowhere?
So my struggle with depression started when I was in 8th grade. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression in 8th grade. I was very, very young. Basically, my depression comes on multiple times in my life, and the theme that I've seen throughout my life when depression comes on is change. I'm really bad with change. When I first was diagnosed with depression, it was because my parents were going through a divorce. I didn't feel in control of my life. And when you don't feel in control of your life, it's so easy to slip into depression. And so that's what happened. Another time in my life, when I first went to college, my first year of college was so difficult because of this change, because now I am responsible for my own education. I am responsible for living and eating and doing all this stuff, and it was really hard for me. And so change and being in control of my life is something that really causes my depression to get bad.
Thanks for sharing that, Kristen. And when you are more deeply in a struggle with depression, how long does it typically last? How long does it usually go for before you start to feel better, before you start to feel like yourself again?
Usually when I am depressed depressed or have depression symptoms, they usually last, anywhere between a week to like 4 months. It really depends on the situation, why I am getting my depression symptoms back, and if I have a support system or not.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. And what is it like for you when you are in a depressive episode? What does it feel like? What's going on inside of you? If you can just explain it as best as you can to help us understand what that feels like to be in that dark, deep place of depression.
How did it feel to be depressed? Well, it didn't feel very good. It did not. And I just got out of a depression episode a few months ago, so I can kind of remember how it felt, because when you're in it, you feel like there's no way out. You feel like you're never going to get out of this cycle. It feels very isolating. You don't want to go anywhere. You don't want to do anything. You just want to lay in bed. You kind of feel hopeless. You kind of feel tired all the time. You go to bed a lot earlier. I feel guilty. I feel a lot of shame. I feel very hopeless. I feel just very down about myself. I feel very overwhelmed as well. A lot of thoughts in my head. Negative thoughts, overwhelming thoughts. And if it gets really bad, I start getting suicidal thoughts, which is not good, but it happens. Yeah, it's not pleasant having depression. Just side note, this is how I feel depression and how my symptoms are, but that doesn't mean that someone else doesn't feel differently than me. We all experience our emotions differently, regardless of the emotion, and that's how I experience depression. But what you experience or what your loved one experiences could be something completely different.
Okay, and so now before we get into talking about what does help when you're struggling, I had to ask you, what doesn't help? What is not helpful for you when you are in the midst of struggling with depression?
When I was going through my depression episodes when I was younger, my parents would deny. I feel like that's a common theme in my family and around my friends is denial. You don't have depression. It's just a phase. You'll get over it in time. That's not the way you should go about depression, because depression is dangerous. Because like I said, it could lead to suicidal thoughts. It could lead to something worse. It could lead to other mental illnesses happening, and we need to get in there and get treatment before that happens, because it is an illness. If I walked into a room with my leg cut off, you wouldn't say, oh, it's gonna get better, you just need time. No, you would rush me to the hospital to get me help. So why don't we do that when someone has depression? Why don't we take them seriously? That's another thing. People don't take it seriously. They just think, oh, you're just sad, you'll get over it. But it's not something that we can just get over in time. It's something that we really need to work on. Also, one thing that one of my family members did was distraction. A lot of distractions were happening. They would take me shopping, they would take me out, which is amazing, which is great, and I love that my support system took me out of my house, but it should have been done with treatment as well. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Now we know what's not helpful for you. Can you share with us now what is helpful? What do you need from people? What actually does make a difference for you when you are deep in struggle with depression?
What I found most helpful was people who, even though they didn't understand, they wanted to be there for me. They wanted to be my support system. They wanted to listen. They said, you call me when you start feeling bad. You text me when you start feeling bad. You come over when you start feeling bad and we'll do something. I really liked that. Throughout my depression experiences, that's been a common theme of something that's been really helpful. People who just really care about me, whether that be my therapist, my friend, my family member, my partner, anyone, and they make me laugh and they take me somewhere and they care. That's really helpful, is when people actually care.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. Now, one last question for you. Can you offer any advice, any words of wisdom from what you know and what you've experienced and what you've learned for people who have a loved one struggling with depression? Any words of wisdom or pieces of advice that you have for them before we end?
Okay, so I have 3 things if you have a loved one who is suffering with depression. 1, don't be afraid to talk about it, because talking about it, more times than not, they want you to say something. They want you to notice. They want attention. They want you to say something. And you're not going to make it worse if you talk about it. Just talking about it, telling someone that you care and that you're there for them is so comforting to someone with depression, because then they finally feel like someone does care about them. And that's very important. The next thing is listen without judgment. Don't butt in and give your opinions when they're talking to you. Some of the things that they might say might sound weird, might sound out of the box. You might hear things that you've never heard before, and it's so easy to judge, like, why do you feel that way? Why is that? I don't like using the word why because it kind of sounds like you're judging someone. So just listen to them. Let them talk it out. If you are gonna butt into the conversation, make sure it's comforting language for them. And the last thing is encourage them to seek treatment. Bring them to resources or offer resources to them, whether that be a video, a website, a support group, asking them if they want you to make a doctor's appointment or to go to therapy with them. I think bringing resources to them and say this is available is something that's so beneficial and so comforting to someone with depression. Anyway, thank you so much, Julia, for having me on your channel. We actually made a video on my channel talking about depression and anxiety and the reoccurring episodes of relapse. And Julia made some amazing points in that video and I love it. And that will be linked down below as well. Thank you, Julia, for having me on your channel, and I'll see you guys over on my channel if you want to. Bye!
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you for sharing so openly and honestly and giving us some more information, some more insight, some really powerful and deep understanding about what people can be going through when they are struggling with depression. You are amazing. You are wonderful. I think that you are doing so many important things in the world, and we are all grateful for you. Thanks for being here, for joining me on this one. And thank you, all of you guys, for joining us. I hope that you found this useful, that you got a lot out of it. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Kristen. Make sure that you subscribe to me. Make sure you like this video, that you share it out to anybody that you think would benefit from it, anyone that you would find it useful. And make sure that you stay connected to both of us. Until next time, take good care.